Well, thank you, Shaumo Chatterjee, for this request. This is a video on request. Let's begin. In today's video, I'm going to discuss Give Reasons from the poem Birches, written by Robert Frost. Question 1. When the poet sees the birch trees bent, he likes to think that it was because some boy has been swinging on them because. Here, you will have to supply a single reason in your own words. Let's read the reason that I have written. Because the trees are leaning to the left and right as compared to the other trees that stand dark and straight, leading him to this subjective explanation based on his imagination. Let me clarify the reason. The trees are leaning to the left and right as compared to the other trees that stand dark and straight. Here is juxtaposition, opposites placed side by side. Trees bent to the left and right and straight trees, leading him to this subjective explanation. What is the subjective explanation? That these birch trees are bent due to some boy who has been swinging on them. And this subjective explanation is based on his imagination. In this poem, we have the theme of imagination and fancy. And this subjective explanation is opposed to the objective explanation based on scientific facts. The very next reason will make things easier for you to understand. Let's read the second reason now and you will understand. The poet realizes that the action of swinging does not actually cause the birches to stay bent because he is aware of the objective explanation. So juxtaposition of subjective explanation and objective explanation. And this objective explanation is based on scientific truth that during an ice storm, the strong winds and sleet lie heavily on the branches and cause them to droop. What is the actual reason for the bent birch trees? The scientific truth that ice storms cause these birch trees to be bent. These birch trees are laden with snow and ice. As a result of this, they remain bent. So this is the objective explanation, and the poet wants to believe in the subjective explanation that this is due to some boy swinging on the birch trees. Next, question number 3. The poet uses the second person you in the beginning of the poem because, what is the reason? Because he makes the readers, very important, he makes the readers part of the experience. This is the main reason here. He makes the readers part of the experience when he describes the birch trees laden heavily with ice on a bright and sunny winter morning after a spell of rain. In this way, you are supposed to write your reasons. The length of the reason is no issue at all. You need not worry about that because there is no fixed word limit. It will depend on the question. Now, 4. There are cracks in the hard ice because the icy breeze makes the branches of the birches brush against each other, brush against one another with a clicking sound. Read the text and try to frame compact, brief, to the point reasons. The branches of the birches turn many-colored on a sunny winter morning because, this is important, this is a suggestion, learn this. The branches of the birches turn many-colored. Why? Because the icy breeze makes the branches brush against one another with a clicking sound, causing cracks in the hard ice, and then refracts the sunlight into a multitude of colors. The three steps must be mentioned in this reason. Icy breeze making the branches brush against each other, number 1. Number 2, causing cracks in the hard ice. And number 3, refraction. Refracts the sunlight into a multitude, into many dazzling colors. This is important. Now, the next one, question number 6. The ice on the birches fall like a shower of shattered sparkling glass to the frozen ground because... The comparison. What is the reason? Because the warmth of the sun increases. Number 1, the warmth of the sun increases. Number 2, the ice thaws. And number 3, and turns into clear transparent shells. Clear crystal shells. In this way, you will have to pack in as much information as possible in your single reason. The birch trees almost touch the dried and shriveled up ferns and shrubs on the ground because, a simple reason, very brief, because they are weighed down by the ice and snow. No need to explain anything else. See, it all depends on the question. Question number 8 now. Let's read question number 8. Even after many years, the trunks of the birches are still arched, and the trees are often seen bent over with their leaves touching and trailing the ground because, though the trees only seem not to break, having been weighed down and bent the entire winter, they do not later straighten out, and they stay like that forever, even when they grow older with the passage of time. So this is the fancy of the poet. This is the imagination of the poet. Role of imagination and fancy. The next question, question number 9. Let me just turn the page. Here is question number 9. The poet says that the trees look like girls. Another comparison. The trees look like girls down on all fours, kneeling with their hands to the ground, bending their heads down so that the sun can dry their hair because even after many years, the trunks of the birches are still arched. The trunks of the birches are still arched, and the birches are often seen bent over with their leaves touching and trailing the ground. Hence the comparison with the girls. Next, the poet prefers to believe, his imagination, that the bending of the birches is caused by a boy swinging on it because the truth brings out the real facts about nature and the ice storms, which explains the bending of the birches, and this interrupts the truth, the rational knowledge, the common sense based on scientific facts explain the bending of the birches due to ice storms, and this rational knowledge interrupts his flight of imagination. Very, very important. Number 1, his flight of imagination, and number 2, his nostalgia. He is fondly remembering his own childhood, the phase where he was carefree and without any considerations. Interrupts is the most important word here, and you will have to explain the role of truth in the life of the poet. What is truth? Truth is rational knowledge, realistic, practical knowledge based on common sense and scientific facts. The next one, the farm lad living far away from the town swings on the birch tree because he has no opportunity to learn baseball. He is all alone and swinging is his only sport and pastime that he can do on his own at any time of the year, summer or winter, without depending on anyone. He has no friends, he has no access to the town or any other games. Therefore, swinging is his only sport and pastime, and he takes delight in doing this. 12. The boy climbs all the trees in his father's farm one by one because living in an isolated farm, theme of alienation, loneliness, living in an isolated farm with no companions, no access to the town and games, he finds joy in swinging the birches and leaves not a single tree upright. This is his favorite pastime. The trunks of the birch trees lose their stiffness because of the repeated efforts of the boy. What is the key word or expression here? Repeated efforts of the boy, who climbs all the trees in his father's farm one by one and rides them. Dear students, you need to mention all the key words and expressions in your single reason. Practice. Give reasons. Read the summary of the poem and things will be easier for you. Quickly, moving on to question number 14 now. The boy learned not to bend the tree and swing out too soon, but to reach the optimum height because with experience, gradually he mastered the art of climbing up the birch trees. And he knows if he swung out early, it would cause the tree to bend too close to the ground, and he, with experience, bettered the art of swinging. He knows what to do and what not to do, the do's and don'ts. Next, 15. Climbing to the top requires patience and poise, because if the boy does not keep careful balance and calm on the higher branches, there will be a sudden movement and the tree will bend too soon. He will not be able to enjoy himself and he will also be in the middle of a bad accident. Next, the boy made sure to carefully climb to the top of the birch tree because with experience he has learned that he has to do it with skill and expertise without a false move, just as one would with dexterity fill a cup to the rim, painstakingly, slowly, carefully, pouring little by little. Another comparison. All these points are there in the text, so read the text thoroughly. Once the boy reaches the top of the birch tree, he propels himself out because by kicking his feet out, he will climb down and reach towards the ground through the air. So climbing up the birch tree and then coming down. The speaker speaks of his desire to go back to being a swinger of birches because he gets, number 1, personal, number 2, nostalgic, remembers the time he also used to swing the birch trees, and then shifts to the present times, thereby introducing the theme of child and man in the poem. I have packed in as much information as possible in this single reason. Now, these reasons, question 18, 19, 20 are all interconnected. Read these reference reasons and frame your own answer. The poet wants to get away from the world temporarily for a short period of time because he wants to enjoy the carefree life of childhood and wants to come back to earth and the life he loves to start afresh, to start life afresh. Once again, he wants to enter, this is important, he wants to enter into a world of imagination. And in the next reason, you will see that this escape is a temporary respite. Not a permanent one, but a temporary respite. All these reasons are interconnected. So write a proper reason according to the question given. The poet dreams of being a swinger of birches because this will provide him with a temporary respite. Very important. The word temporary is really very important here. Temporary respite from what? From the considerations, complexities, turmoil of adult life, and he will be able to start afresh or rejuvenated. Now, here I have mentioned 2 points. These are not reasons, but you need to know this. Climbing to the top branches symbolizes escaping the harsh reality of life and entering a world of imagination and fancy. Use this whenever you are writing a reason. Next, swinging down. Climbing up and again swinging down is also symbolic. It symbolizes accepting reality and one's responsibilities on earth. As human beings, we have our responsibilities which we need to fulfill, and we must come down to earth. And to the poet, according to the poet, earth is also a place where he finds love. The poet hopes that no fate or higher power intentionally misunderstands his wish to leave earth for a while because, what is the specific reason? Because he does not want to die or be taken away from earth permanently. He wants temporary respite and he definitely wants to return. A simple reason, but this is how you're going to get full marks. The poet does not want fate to misunderstand his wish to leave earth for a while and fulfill half his wish by taking him away permanently because he has no wish to die and is quite sure that earth is the right place for love and there is no better place for that. Number 1 has no wish to die, knows, he's quite sure that earth is the right place for love. And number 3, and he also knows that there is no better place for that, for love. Dear students, here I come to the end of today's discussion. Do subscribe to our channel for more such content and also like and share.